Coach Daryl Green. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm blessed. Thanks for coming on the show today. The Rematch, basketballnews.com and Fly TV. And just to introduce yourself to the audience, you was a top assistant with Dematha under Mike Jones for how many years?
I was with Mike for about 4 years.
For 4 years. And we all really built a special culture at Dematha. And let's start there. Let's talk about the culture that you built there, and also the rapport that you have with the players, because that's really important to have that connection with the players, because it's not easy to have. So talk about your time with Coach Jones.
It was a good time, man. It never felt like, I know it's basketball, so sometimes people think it's like work, but with us, it was just like a family thing. He had already had assistants there that all of us are really close. Reggie Vini, Kevin Cromer, Sam Anstead, those guys were there before I got there. So when I got there, I had known Coach Jones, since I was younger. But it was just, they welcomed me right away. It was like another brother. They were like older brothers to me. They welcomed me right away. It was a great fit right away because we were all there for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
We're only there because we all played at Dematha. We love Dematha, and we're here to make a difference in these young men's lives. So it was an easy match for me, and we, like I said, we just clicked. It was one common goal. That goal was laid out, and it was all about the kids. And once everybody's on board with that, it was easy to flow. It was just an easy flow for us.
Now, let's talk a little bit about how special Dematha is. Because, of course, here everybody in PG County and DMV know Dematha. And, KD featured Dematha in his documentary, Basketball County, in the Water, where greatness lives. And he showed how special Dematha is here in PG County. And, it's interesting because kids grow up here dreaming about playing for Dematha. My son Malcolm, he was young, little cat, playing AAU. I coached his AAU team when he was young. And, people would ask him, well, where do you want to go to school? And he was like, well, I want to go to Dematha. And that they were talking about college, but he was saying, no, I want to go to Dematha. So that's just how it is around here. But talk about that special tradition that Dematha has.
It's like it really is a brotherhood, especially among the athletes. Like, you go there and it's an all boys school. So it's no girls there. You're just with your guys, and it causes you to bond maybe a little more than in other places, because you don't have those distractions or maybe certain things going on because it's females there and it's young women there, so you just you figure out who you are and the things you like, and then it's a commonality with athletes. So you're around those guys all the time. You're in class together, you practice together, you're playing in games, so you're in the trenches with each other. So it just builds bonds that's hard to break. Like, it's guys that I'm cool with to this day that I went to high school with. Like, two of my best friends I went to high school with. You know what I mean? So it's hard to explain if you don't go through it, man, because people will be like, man, y'all just talking and it's something that you say, and the brotherhood sounds cliche, but once you leave outside of that school and you're in the real world and you might need a job or you might need help with something, like that network and that brotherhood, it always comes into play. And it's like you wear Dematha somewhere and people are like, oh, you go to Dematha, or your son goes there. Like, it's always a conversation piece. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's been a fixture in PG County for like ever, so it's like having that name attached to you it means something, and it means something to all of us that have graduated there. And that's the reason all of us came back to coach. It's not like we were going to get rich coaching, but we wanted to continue that tradition and have young men experience the same thing we experience. Like, you want those bonds. You want to have people you can depend on when life might not be going great, or when life is going great. You want the right people around you, especially when it's going great. You don't want someone that's going to bring you down. So having people go through those experiences with you and they know what it's all about, it's huge, man. It's really huge.
And the another thing that's special about it is the relationship that the coaches, have had with the players. That's really one. I mean, because it's so much more than X's and O's or you're designing plays or anything like that. It's the relationship and the trust, and that's what that was always special about Dematha. Now this year was a little bit different. After Coach Jones left, and we wished him nothing but success, and happy for him. We were just watching him last night. They took a loss, but we rooting for him, and I heard Malcolm talking to all the different guys. All the different guys are watching and rooting for him because they want him to do well. Now there's a lot that happened this year. He left and went to the job to Virginia Tech, and then the administration kind of abruptly put Coach Strickland in the head coaching position, and it started off rocky from the beginning.
Right.
And so for me, we were young. Malcolm was just a sophomore. We didn't play last year because of COVID, so we're just really just getting there. But all the parents were really kind of shocked because the thought was that one of you all from the assistant coaching staff were going to be the ones to be the interim coach because you had the connection with the players.
Right.
And so I think that kind of started off creating a lot of tension, frustration, resentment, everything else like that, and put Coach Strickland in a tough position. Would you agree with that assessment?
I would definitely agree with that assessment. And it's just a lot of it because, like you said, like the relationship. Like Coach Jones had a great relationship with these kids, even with Malcolm, who was out for COVID, like the COVID year, like he didn't really play, but Coach Jones still had a relationship with him. He still let him know, look, man, like you're not forgotten about, and you're not lost. Like that's the kind of guy he is, and that's why I think the parents and even the kids reacted the way they did, because that relationship piece right there was gone. It wasn't, oh man, we need somebody that's going to draw up the right play. No, like this, you're talking about an individual along with Coach Greene, Coach Anstead, Coach Cromer, myself. Like it was bigger than basketball for us. So whether you ran the right play or not, we still cared about you as a young man. Like, what are you doing in the classroom? Who are you hanging out with?
Right.
You know what I mean? What are you doing after practice? And the kids know if something happens, they can come to us. And to know that, and as an athlete, like so much stuff goes on in your life besides basketball. And basketball is that space where you can kind of escape it, but you also have people that you can go to talk about those challenges. And I'm sure for them and those parents, they felt like, a big part of that was lost with Coach Jones moving on. And like you said, we're all happy for him, and he deserves that. Like Coach Jones deserves the opportunity. I believe how well Virginia Tech did is a direct result of him being there.
Right.
Of course, with Coach Mike Young as well, but it was a big blow, man. And then to have someone come in that they didn't know, which was to no fault of his own. Like if someone comes to you and say, "Hey, man, we want you to be the interim coach of Dematha," they're going to do it. So you can't fault, Coach Strickland for that. It was just the way it was done. It was the timing of it and how it was presented. It put him in a bad position too.
It's interesting. I go back to the meeting when they introduced Coach Strickland to the parents, and everybody was in the stands, and the parents, one after another. So y'all weren't in the meeting. The assistant coaches weren't there. One after the other, every parent was saying, "Well, what's going to happen with the assistant coaches?" Like, they kept saying it. Well, do we have any assurances that the assistant coaches, Coach Greene, are going to be here? And then he said, well, we're going through the process and everything. Then the next parent came up. Well, it's important that the assistant coach, like it kept happening over and over and over. So I think that kind of pushed them for whatever it is that they were, because a lot of times when a new coach comes, they bring their own assistants. That's just what usually happens. But the parents really, one after the other, really made it abundantly clear that y'all had to be a part of the process, and I thought that was really, interesting to see. And, like I said, this year, it started off really rocky. It was a lot of resistance. And after a while, they had to say, okay, Coach Jones isn't here anymore. You have to be able to go to the new regime. It's a new regime now. And it was, and you could see it looking at the games from the outside looking in, you're like, oh, they're not buying into whatever the situation is, whatever the play is called, whatever they're not buying into it, and it showed on the court. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was rocky. It was rocky. It was a lot of conversations myself and the other coaches had to have to kind of just, because you think about teenagers, man, and they're at that point where they're emotional, they have opinions, they think they know the game, and a lot of them do. They watch it a lot more than when I was younger. They watch it, they study film, they have their own ideas. So, and Coach Jones is one where if you do have those ideas, you can bounce them off. I mean, it's not like it's just a dictatorship and this is what I ran and this is what I said. So, like, all of that for them, as a teenager, you're dealing with is missing now. And again, no fault to Coach Strickland, but they were in two different positions.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Coach Jones, who was there for 19 years, who has relationships with everybody. He knows how a kid ticks and what makes them go. And then Coach Strickland, who is just trying to come in and get them to buy in. You know what I mean? And not necessarily knowing those kids or knowing anything about them. That's a hard thing to do. It's hard to just say, all right, this is what we're going to do, and then they just go along with it. So that was the main reason I stayed. Like, I didn't want to leave those young men to someone new. Not that it's some bad person, but it's just someone new. It could have been anybody. And knowing they're going to need that support, not just on the court, but off the court. So, it was chatter like, how could you stay? And you're crazy and it's no way. But for me, I don't care what they feel the administration might have done or this person might have done. I've made a promise to these young men and their families to be there for them. So whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable for me, I still got to keep my word. So as long as, and I've told them, as long as you're going to be here, I'm going to be here. I'm not going to leave y'all. I'm not going to abandon y'all. I'm going to deal with whatever, we have to deal with, but we're going to do it together. And that was my whole thing, from the beginning of the season. Just try to do it together. No matter how you feel, think about each other. And if you're doing it for no other reason but each other, which you should, then you'll be fine. But again, it's teenagers and they're emotional. So it took them a little while, to really get to that point where it's just like, you know what, let's just, do it together. And even when they did, we had lapses where it's just like, oh man, what, you know what I mean? It was a roller coaster, but I was extremely proud that they finished the way they did.
So let me say this, and I posted this on social media after they won the last ACIT tournament. It was a great win. I was really happy, especially for the seniors, to go out, like that with the win. Happy for Tyrell and Roddy and Jarrell and they all Bryson. They deserved that. But this is what I posted. I'm gonna read it verbatim.
Okay.
All right. So I said the Dematha Stags win the ACIT championship over Paul VI for the school's 26th Alhambra, is how you pronounce it, championship. It's been a tough year of adjustments with the departure of beloved coach Mike Jones. We lost a couple of great players who transferred. We had tension, rough patches, and almost full team boycott a few times. But the players all came together at the right time to end the season on a high note. Great job, and a special shout out to Coach Daryl Green for keeping everything together with the players the entire season. Wouldn't have gotten through this season without him. Now, from that, a lot of people had a lot to say in the comments. I'm sure you saw the comments. I just kept it, like that, but a lot of people have a lot to say. But you have a lot of support throughout the entire community and Dematha alumni who support you in particular and know the relationship that you have with the players. So first, was it nice to see? I know you saw the comments. You couldn't have missed the comments.
I looked in the beginning. So like I saw when you first did it, and I saw a few of them, and then I didn't know how it was going to go. But so
it was heated. But it was really out of support for the people that know. I mean, because it was a tough season. It was, and you really kept it together. Like you you're like I said, it's not just about X and O's. Now, yeah, basketball wise, I mean, like my son Malcolm, he has full trust in you. You're telling him when he's doing something wrong, getting on him when he's doing something wrong. You have that relationship where the players don't get like an attitude when you get on them because you have the relationship first.
Right.
And people got to understand that's the difference. You could get on a player as hard as you want to when you build that relationship.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at it and I'm seeing when Coach Strictly would say something to a player, and then when you would say something even more aggressively to the player, and the reaction was different. I mean, am I exaggerating?
No, I mean, yeah, and it's I say it a lot. It's like the players, like they're not gonna care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And so for me,
right. That's a great
it's
saying.
always building that relationship first. Like they gotta know, like I'm here for you. So no matter what, like the baseline is Coach Greene is gonna have my back. Coach Greene is gonna support me. He's always gonna be there for me. But on the same token, because of that, I'm gonna get on you. Like I'm gonna tell you when you're doing wrong. I'm gonna tell you when you're messing up, when you need to listen. Even when it's like, man, just listen to what Coach said. Even if it's something as simple as that, I'm gonna tell them. But they know from jump, all right, he ain't just getting on me because he don't like me. Because a lot of times when players go through things, especially rough patches with coaches, they sometimes they think, man, he don't like me.
Yep.
Or he ain't playing me because he don't like me. He's yelling at, like they know, like we're cool. There's nothing wrong with us. I'm always like, but I'm gonna get on you because you have to get better, and that's the only way it's gonna happen. I'm not always gonna yell at you, but I'm gonna hold you accountable. Right. You know what I mean? So I feel like they know that with me. Their parents know that with me. I'm honest with them. Like I don't have a problem talking to them and telling them, you know, whatever's going on or what their child needs to work on. So they know it's no angles. Like I'm not trying to trick you into doing something or trying to manipulate anything. If anything, I'm doing whatever is best for this team and for that individual player. So they just know where I'm coming from. So it makes it a lot easier. But it didn't just happen by me just walking in the gym.
Right.
I really had to like have tough conversations with them about even just life. Like once they know, man, I could tell him anything and he ain't gonna judge me or he's not gonna use it against me for playing time. Like when they know they have that level of trust with you, even guys that have graduated, like I still talk to them. I still make sure I check on them and not just a social media post. Like I'm gonna text you, I'm gonna call you to really see how you're doing. Because it's easy to mask doing well, but I know the ups and downs of basketball in college and high school. So you gotta dig deep, and I believe they know when someone's doing that and when it's genuine. So I think that's what's helped me, you know, have that response that you've seen from those players.
You know, and you talk about the former players. I mean, I reached out to you to try to connect me with Markelle Fultz because I wanted to interview him and just, you know, encourage him because he was going through a tough time, his injury and everything like that. And the first thing his mother said, it was like, oh, anything for Coach Greene. You know, we have a, you know, if Coach Greene vouches for you, then we vouch for you. And then she started talking about how you encouraged him and how you know, pushed him and how you stayed on him and how you know, everything like that, you know, with her son growing up. And it's just, you keep hearing it over and over again, you know what I mean, from the current players and former players about how your relationship is, you know, with the players and how important it is to their overall growth. Right. So now we're in a situation where, you know, that they're doing their coaching search. They're trying to see, they're in the interviewing process. They're talking to different coaches. You've been interviewed once, you have another interview coming up. And, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of the Dematha parents are worried right now. You know, I mean, they're nervous about how this is going to go, and they're putting together contingency plans just in case things don't go well as far as the administration's pick for the head coach. Right. And I gotta say, you know, I mean, you earn the support and the trust of the parents, like hands down. And they're, you know, meeting and talking, and, you know, there's like, hey, come here. You know, what do you think about this? I was like, I hear y'all. I agree with y'all. You know what I mean? Everybody is on the same page as far as what will be best. But, you know, it's tough to hear the parents worry the way that they are because we already lost a lot of good players. Yeah. So last year, people don't realize. So we lost Jaden Mustaf. JQ, who went to Bishop McNamara. I just know him as JQ.
Jeremiah Quigley.
Quigley. He went to McNamara, played great when we played against them at the WCAC, playoffs. He played great.
Two really good players.
Oh my gosh! Then we lost Jacoy, who went to IMG, and he's doing great. And honestly, I think Jason would have kept playing if Coach Jones was still here. I know he wanted to, he started focusing on football, and he's like one of the top players in football.
Right.
But I think he would have kept playing. When they checked it out summer league and they felt the temperature, and I'm hearing them, like I'm seeing them, I'm watching, and it's just I'm nervous about what will happen if they don't make the right choice. Because the connection, and they know what is needed for their son to be able to be successful. And it's not just X's and O's.
Right.
And that's the part where we are, right now. And it's, people are a little nervous, but they want to know. They want to know, like, well, do we have any say in this? Do the parent? And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview, I was like, well, I don't know how much say we have. I don't really, know the administration to try to meet with anybody or anything like that. But I wanted to invite you on the show today, and so let everybody know, and everybody can see the connection that you have with the players, the passion that you have for the players, and why it's so important to have someone who has that connection. You know what I mean? Like, I can't stress it enough how important it is.
It's extremely important. And I mean, even I know the parents are on like pins and needles. Like, it's hard for me because I talk to a lot of them and I don't really know what to tell them at this point, because I really don't know. And I'm not used to being in that position. Like, I can at least have something to tell them, or if I don't know, all right, man, let me talk to Coach Jones and we'll figure out, and this is what it's going to be. But in this situation, man, I can't, because I don't know what they're going to decide. Of course, I would love to be the coach, next year and going forward. But it's a big job. But to me, it's more of, now you're in a position to help young men. Like, you got to think about, when college coaches are calling, what is this coach going to say about them? And if you know them, you can say a little more about them. But if you don't, it's harder to tell a coach, man, this dude, you might have seen him do this, but this is why, or this is what he might have been going through, or this is what was going on that day. Right. Like, to me, it's a big responsibility, because a lot of these kids can't pay for college. So now you're talking about their future being in someone's hands, and you want those hands to like be caring. You want those hands to kind of have a relationship with these individuals and their families, and be one that, man, I'm going to speak highly of you. I'm going to make sure. And even if you have shortcomings or things you got to work on, we're going to work on those. So when you do get to whatever institution you go to, you're ready, and you're exactly who I've told these coaches you are. You know what I mean? So like, for me, like we've been saying, it's more than X's and O's, man. It's a huge responsibility to be in. And I've said it to people, like, being a coach is definitely a blessing, like, in itself. And I believe that God always blesses us, and we're supposed to bless other people. And that's that position you're in. Like, you're channeling those blessings to these families by getting them scholarships and helping them through things that's making them better men, that down the line, now you're going to be a better husband. You're going to be a better father. You're going to make good decisions. If they get in situations where, man, I don't really know what I should do, but now in the back of my head, man, Coach Greene told me, if it look like this, I need to get away. Yeah. Or if this individual is doing this, I need to get away. Like, you need that. They need that. They need somebody who's been in things, who's dealt with different things, that can tell you, man, this is how this goes. This is how this ends. And not just, man, when you go over there, you got to make sure you set that screen so he gets over.
Right.
Like, forget
more
that.
Than that. Yeah.
Every year, if I ever coach, I want to win a WCAC championship. Of course, everybody does, but the game of life is so much more important, man. Like, you'll get your scholarships if you don't win the championship. You know what I mean? Like, that's always the goal, but the bigger goal is to have productive young men when they leave you.
Exactly. And that's really, everything that Dematha preaches that they're about, that's what you want, everything that you just described. So, let me just say that, we really, appreciate you, Coach.
I
And
appreciate you.
and not just me. Of course, I have an invested interest because my son is playing there,
Mm-hmm.
but all the parents. I can speak for all the parents when I say that we all collectively really appreciate you, and we're rooting for you to be able to get this head coach position, going forward, and be able to lead and craft our young men to be successful both on and off the court. And I don't know what direction they're going to go in. But you have a special connection with my son Malcolm in particular. Like I said, like all of them, all the players, and they really trust you and support you in particular. And that was especially seen after Montverde. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm talking about. We don't have to even go into all the details of what happened, but really, after that, we really saw how the team rallied around you in particular. And really the entire season, and the fact that you unselfishly held the entire team together, because you didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? You didn't have to. You could have just left. You could just okay, I didn't like this or I didn't like that, so I'm gonna just leave. But it would not have worked. We would not have gotten through the season without you. I am saying that clearly to you. And so if you don't hear anybody else say it publicly, you heard me say it. I appreciate the sacrifice that you made. And, you have the support of, like I said, the parents, the players, the alumni, the community, and we're all rooting for you. So thank you for everything you do.
Man, thank you guys. And they helped as well. They probably feel like they were just in the trenches and they were going through, but they helped me, they helped Coach Cromer, they helped all of us. You know what I mean? And they were a big part of why, even when things could have been tough or what, like, how could you walk away when every day you're telling them how to stay and how to deal with it and how to push through and persevere? Like, you got to be that example, whether it's comfortable or not. Like, it's always a bigger goal and it's always bigger than you.
Right.
So if you can keep that in mind and you can see those faces looking at you like, what we going to do, man? Or what's like, you gotta have that heart. It's not a switch you can turn on and off because they're going to know it. They're gonna smell it and they're not gonna like it. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be who you are, and that's just who I am. That's how my parents raised me, man. They care about people. We've had people live with us because their home situations weren't great, and it wasn't like we were rich. You know what I mean? But they love people, and that's how I was raised, and that's what I believe. You have to love people through whatever, and that will help them. Like, those boys know I'll do anything for them.
Right.
So I feel like that they know they can deal with anything, or they can go through a whole season that might not have been great. But if we can do it together and support each other, that's all we need to do.
Yep, and that's what it's all about. And that's what makes you special. So, hey, like I said, I appreciate you. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but thanks for coming again on the show. Thank you for everything you do, and we're gonna keep you in our prayers. You know what I mean? And we're gonna try to get so this all over the place, and rally the community and everybody else around you, all alumni as well. So again, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, man. Thank your family. Thank all the Dematha parents, the alumni, everybody supporting me, as well as the other coaches. They're not on here, but I'll say it for them. We definitely appreciated you guys this whole year, and we always do. So thank you.
That's what's up. All right, Coach. Stay blessed, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sir.
All right. Peace. All right.